Hello, everyone, and happy 2024. Can you believe it? It has been, I haven't seen you guys since last year. We have not been back with Talking with Ty. So many things have happened. We thought we would have come back with season one already. And then I got kicked out of LinkedIn last week. So I'm super excited that our guest for today was able to switch some things around in her schedule to make it where she could have an appearance today. Because like I told her, I'm like, this conversation is going to be so amazing that even LinkedIn knew it and they would not let me get on. So today is the perfect time and a perfect place for the conversation. I am your host, Ty Jackson, guys. Welcome back to season 3 of Talking with Ty. For anybody that is just now tuning in for the first time, Talking with Ty is an unscripted podcast, and what we do is focus on the story behind the brand. And the reason that I do that is because it's the story that truly connects us as people. You ever see a person and they're on TV, or a person that you've worked with, maybe at a company, and you really don't know them, and then magically one day you hear their story. And when you hear their story, you realize our story is so similar. Even though we look different, we have the same story. A lot of us look different and we think our story is different just because we don't know anything about each other. So what I've done is created a platform to bring people on and to showcase them so we can talk about the real story and make real connections. So welcome to season 3, episode 1 of Talking with Ty. Before we get started on our first guest, I want to go back and thank everybody from season 2 who came on and made this podcast what it is. It would not be what it is without each and every one of you for coming on, lending your voice, lending your expertise in the multifamily industry, and just getting real. I was able to have some real deal conversations with a lot of people. And because of these real conversations and these real connections throughout the year, we stayed connected. So again, I want to thank Melissa D. White. Melissa, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing with us that you're a faith-based leader when you came on. I want to thank James. James is one of my best friends in the multifamily industry. James, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing. What did you say that we took away with us? Because I can. We will always remember when you said that on Talking with Ty. Greg Sabana. Greg, I always knew you from seeing you out, and I told you this too. It felt like I knew you just so much more to have you on my show. So thank you so much for coming on and for being on Talking with Ty. I want to thank Stephanie Anderson. Stephanie, I look forward to hitting more stages with you in 2024, and thank you for bringing your energy. Tony Sosa, Tony, we cried together. I was able to get vulnerable with you and just share how being a mother and balancing everything and how that affected me. So thank you for creating a safe space to be able to share a moment with you. My girl, Alex Jackie. Everybody knows how I feel about Alex. Alex is I'm actually going to be sitting on stage with Alex on March 8th in Orlando, Florida. And I have the privilege, and when I say privilege, I mean privilege, of being able to moderate a conversation between Alex Jackie, Cindy Claire, and Rhonda Perrier. So please check that out on March the 8th. My girl, Dana Duckworth. Dana, thank you so much for coming on. For anybody who has not, please check out the Hilariously Unemployed podcast, where Dana is the host, that comes on Fridays. Also to my girl, Crystal Dukes. Crystal is the boss. She hates when I say that. Hi, I'm not a boss. I know a boss when I see one because I'm a boss. So Crystal, thank you for coming on. Remember, we had a special guest, guys, Marcy French. Marcy came on and she shared her journey of going to the motherland, the time that she spent in the Gambia and Senegal. She shared it with us on Talking with Ty. Then Dana Hill, the queen of all queens on stage. If you've ever seen Dana, then you know Dana. Dana came on and Dana left us with a lot of nuggets on Talking with Ty. And last but not least, his picture is not up there, but the final person of season 10 came on was Don Bruner. And if you don't know Don Bruner and you're in the multifamily industry, I don't know where you've been if you don't know Don Bruner. So thank you so much to all the people that came on for season 2 of Talking with Ty and made us the podcast of all podcasts. Because when I'm out and I'm on these trips and I'm connecting with people in the multifamily industry, I hear the whispers when they're saying, you know, that's Ty Jackson. You know, that's the host of Talking with Ty. And only the best people in the multifamily industry come on. So we're going to continue with that legacy of only the best people in the multifamily industry get invited to come on to Talking with Ty. So without further ado, today I am inviting a woman that comes with so much energy, so much passion, and so much love for what she does and for the multifamily industry. Betsy Cunningham is coming to the stage with us today. And some of you are like, who is Betsy Cunningham? I know, y'all know Betsy Kirkpatrick, but Betsy got married on us, and we're going to talk about that today too. We're not just going to talk about advocacy, personal branding, and association involvement. We're going to talk about Betsy getting married. We're going to talk about the dynamics of how Betsy's family look. I was able to talk to her before this call, and just to hear about how her family is made up and the dynamics of it and how it came together. And with this being Black History Month, happy Black History Month to every single person out there that is listening. She is the best person to kick us off on episode 1 of season 3. So please, if you are standing to your desk, whatever you are doing, please stand up and give a round of applause as I bring my girl Betsy to the stage. Betsy, welcome.
That was probably the best intro I've ever had in my whole life. I just need you to like intro me for everything for here into the rest of the world, please. Thank you.
Honey, that is what we do on Talking with Ty. We give the best intros.
You
Welcome
do.
and thank you so much, Betsy, for coming on here to have the conversation with us today. Of course, I'm a mic hog. We all know that. I could continue to talk. So I'm going to ask the question to you, Betsy, that I ask to everyone. Who is Betsy Cunningham?
You know, first of all, it's still a little weird to hear that coming out of your mouth because so few people are there yet. They still are like Betsy Kirkpatrick, Betsy Kirkpatrick. But so it's very interesting to hear the Cunningham from somebody else's mouth. But I think if I could describe myself to someone else, I don't know if anybody else here does like the Enneagram, right? So I'm very into the Enneagram, and I'm what's considered a 3-wing 2 in an Enneagram. And just to give that an explanation is I'm definitely a very out front person. Like I love, interacting with people. I vibe off of other people's energy, which you are like the best energy in the universe. But part of that also is that I just love people so much. That's where that kind of wing 2 comes in. And the thing that I love the most, probably more than anything else in the world, is helping other people to find that passion, to move forward in things that they love, to get that visibility and exposure that they're looking for. And some of the things that feed me the most is helping other people get to those locations themselves. So, and then just dad jokes, that's another really big part of it. And singing randomly. Those 2 things, are a big part of who I am. I met a new BGer the other day and I was singing randomly and he just kind of looked at me and he's like, does this happen all the time? I'm like, yes, it does.
This is me. This is what happens. So, you know what? You saying a lover of people is in alignment with what you do then, as far as staffing goes. Because I see that you're the managing director of strategic programming at BGSF. So, formerly known as BG Multifamily, what is the SF for?
The SF is our ticker symbol, but you basically staffing, BG staffing, I guess. I don't know. It used to be the BG standard for our founders. We were two women, Burnett Guile, and then the SF is just our ticker symbol. And I think that the ticker symbol came from staffing, is my guess. And so we just adopted that as our, because we're publicly traded, so it goes along with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. You didn't start at BG. Where did Betsy come from? Even before the multifamily industry, because there's nobody that I've ever met or interviewed that has ever said, I knew it, Ty, when they asked us in the 7th grade, when we filled out that piece of paper of what we wanted to do when we grow up, I said I was going to the multifamily industry. I'm working in the rental housing industry. That never has happened. So if that's happened today, let's find out something new. But
it did
how
not.
did Betsy come from?
So I feel like for most people, we all started in the restaurant industry, right? So I did a lot of restaurants for many, many years. I was a hostess and a waitress. I did a little bit of management. And then from there, I went into the mortgage industry. And I was a processor and an underwriter. So I got all of that experience kind of under my belt. Which a lot of people see me and they're like, you underwrote mortgages? Yes, I did. I did, in fact, do that. There are other aspects besides singing randomly to my personality. And then when the market collapsed, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and ended up working at a boys and girls home as a teaching parent. And I had a house that was my house of 8 to 10, 14 to 17-year-old boys that were in the system. They didn't have a home. They were in, it wasn't exactly foster care. So it was meant to kind of replicate a home environment. And so I was there for a little over a year. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, there is absolutely nothing in the world that multifamily can throw at me that working in the boys and girls home did not happen worse. And then after that, I went into just working retail sales and got kind of headhunted out of there to work in multifamily and worked on site for almost 5 years and then moved forward into working at BG. This year, April is my 10th year with BG, which is somewhat unheard of on the staffing or on supplier side.
I didn't even realize that. So like, how long have you been in the multifamily industry?
Period. It'll be
like when you started
15.
Okay.
I was on site for almost right about 5 years.
So the first 5 years on site and then directly went over to the supplier side.
Correct.
So I spent time on site too and on the supplier side as well prior to becoming the AE. What's your side? What's your favorite side? Or what did you like about either side?
Okay, so on the owner side, I did really love it. I had a fantastic, I worked for several different large management companies and I really enjoyed it. I super did. I had a great team. And one of the things that I really like the most is you're really in people's lives, right? So like people are doing their whole lives in your community and you have that you're there for births, you're there for deaths, you're there for divorces, you're there for all of the things. That is really cool. And then to add into the other like development of other people part, I loved cross-training my team and getting them prepped. So when there was another availability within my region, I'd be like, I'm plugging you in here and I'm plugging you in here and like helping them to move forward to that next level. I was basically the training ground, especially my last community, for all of the other communities in the area. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then on the supplier side, I love people. And so being able to help people find their perfect team or their best home, those two things for me cannot be replaced. When I remember I taught a Tomorrow's Talent course, which is something that BG does, to an entry-level leasing professional. And she was sleeping on a friend's couch at that point. She had never gone to college, didn't have anything. And then like 2 years later, or maybe like 3 years later, I found out that she had gotten promoted to a property manager, and she had a free apartment on site and all in a really great school district for her kid and all this kind of stuff. And I went to see her, and we just like cried in her office together, because she went from absolutely nothing, to having a full career. And that just made my heart so happy.
That's the one. You know what? And I think that's why usually when I bring people on here and they share their story, we always connect in so many ways. And our love for the multifamily industry sounds identical when you share the highlights of it and the highs of why this is your calling in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is because it's a people's industry. And I say the same thing when you said it's your family with people, you go through births with people, and there's no industry like it. Multifamily is family.
Yeah.
And we really do something. You start to see people on these trips, you start to have relationships, and then it goes into my baby is 6 years old now. I'm meeting you, we're developing a relationship. You'll still be around when Titus is graduating. And it's like we've been through a whole lifespan together. And where else can it happen? Or the thing you said about somebody who doesn't have a college degree, and you're able to put them into a position that 2 years later, people are buying houses and supporting families with these careers.
Yep.
And and there's nothing, because sometimes I'm all about education. I love education, but based on where you come from, sometimes based on equity, everybody does not have the same opportunity as far as education goes. And you're speaking to a woman who, I only have a high school diploma, and I have years of experience with work, and I'm a leader in this industry. What other industries can you look at and say the same thing?
My sister is a veterinarian, right? So she went, she's a doctor. She went through many, many years of school. And until she started owning her own veterinary clinic, we were making not altogether dissimilar money. And I do not have a college degree. And so she was like, wow, that's really, she was always surprised and like impressed that we were able to do similar things. Now she owns her own veterinary clinic. Now that's a whole nother story.
Things got a little different now, but
a little different.
But you know what? But this is the thing I will say. But the thing that these jobs do is they put us in a position to where you really could be. There's so much need in the multifamily industry. I always tell people, if you want to come off site and there's not a supplier role out there for you, you can really go and create your own business. Like you said, these two women did for BG. I started Ty Jackson Enterprise. Now Talk by Ty is a leg of that. The association is a leg of that. I'm still a real estate broker here in Arkansas. So my friends that did, and hey, like I said, I'm all for do what works for your life. But my friends look at me the same way, like, girl, you picking up the bill at dinner. Just this girl over here, So I'm just saying. So that this industry gives so much. How can you not give so much back to it?
100%.
Definitely.
And what you said about like following your kid through, people, I've been a supplier and a little bit more for almost 10 years. And so Cadence, she had joined me at that point. So all of these, she's 15 now. And all of these people have known her since she started kindergarten, and have known, like, watched her whole story. I had a hashtag for a long time, and I still use it sometimes. That's like things Cadence says, and people would follow. They would know me almost by that because they thought she is hilarious. But I took her. You met her when we were at NAA, and all these people were like, "Oh my God, it's Cadence!" And they would stop her on the street and be like, "I know you."
And it's like, I'm a celebrity. My mom is a celebrity. When your mom is popping, I'm going to tell you, the first And we're going to talk about cadence a little bit more as we get into the show. But Michelle Childers is a great example for that. Everybody knows Michelle, and now Chance and Bailey work in the industry. And it's just when I've spent time with them in the past, it's like, I know Todd, like my mom knows everybody. So it's everybody knows us. I'm like, yeah, because your mom, when you grow up in this industry, that's what happens. But before we go into cadence and talk about a little bit more about what your family unit looks like, let's talk about association involvement. Why is that important? I can stay on that soapbox all day, but I'm gonna get off of it. Why is it important, you feel?
Okay, so I see the association as being a bit of a three-legged stool, and each of those legs are equally important and necessary for, in my opinion, growth in the industry and also growth in yourself as either somebody that's working on site or a supplier. So one of those is education, obviously. You know, there's classes that you can take, there's certifications that you can get, obviously CAM, CALP, whatever the situation might be. Those things are so important, as well as just, you know, CPO certification or legal seminars or whatever that situation might be. That's one. Another one is networking. And that is huge for everyone. I don't care who you are and what side of the industry you are on. Going to these events and getting to know other people outside of the people that are in your immediate work circle is so necessary and important, because you're learning things about how other companies are doing things. You're learning things about what's, you know, difficulties they might be having that you could learn from. I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day, Alicia Laporte with GCI Residential, and we used to be property managers across the street. And I learned just about everything I knew about bed bugs from that woman, because she was so knowledgeable. And we would go back and forth. I'd be like, tell me what you're doing. Tell me how you do this. And, you know, and it was purely from a networking aspect. So that is huge. And then the third one for me is advocacy. And a lot of people forget this as a part of it. And they just see, oh, it's just these other two things. And they forget advocacy. And for me, advocacy is probably one of the most important, because there is so many things coming around the mountain that could be incredibly hurtful for the industry as a whole. And I feel like it's our responsibility as the people who are getting paid in this industry and the people whose livelihoods are dependent. And we have residents and clients that are in this industry or being served by this industry, to advocate for what is in everybody's best interest, and not just rhetoric that is being spewed that's not in reality what is right or would be the most helpful. So those are my three things.
I love that. And I'm gonna sit on this stool for a second, and we're gonna talk about those three legs. I love that you pointed out education, a leg of the stool, because we just both said we came into this industry with a high school diploma. What other industry will take you and nurture you? Because having a CAM in this industry is having a bachelor's degree in another industry. But now I'm not just teach you physics and chemistry and geography. I'm going to teach you about the industry that you work in.
Yeah.
And so more of a trade. I mean, I think everybody tells their son, if you're not going to go to school, take a trade. Go to.
Yes.
So we're giving you the trade, and it's there for you, and it's tailored to what you do to make you better. So that's amazing. The networking piece. I tell everybody, the multifamily industry is a relationship industry. I don't care what you have behind your name. You can have every acronym behind your name if you want to. But if you know the right person, every single time you're going to get the opportunity. When you meet the right people, I don't care what you look like. No longer, when I met the right person, did it matter that I was a Black woman. When I had the right person open up the door for me, when allyship came from the right people speaking up, it didn't matter that my hair looked like, as a regional told me before, I stuck my finger in the socket. Yeah, I know. I know, girl. I clutched my pearls too, honey. Good thing I'm a changed and reformed woman, and the stereotypes don't match up because I probably would have drug her through the office. So,
I mean, I
but
love
I'm not
Jesus,
like.
but you can still catch these hands. You know what I'm saying?
But see, exactly. So, but having the right relationships in this industry will get you to a point where
It's free.
you just the opportunities will be there. So networking, I always encourage people who come to association meetings, even here locally in Arkansas. Stop sitting with we're gonna Betsy and I'm gonna lean in. Betsy and I are gonna give you guys a tip today. So you're coming on these national trips and you flew in together, you're sleeping in a hotel room together. Stop hanging with each other the whole time, though.
You're going to see the same people
Stop
at home. Go see some other people. Like, have some
network.
conversations.
When you're locally at your association luncheon, when you're at the March luncheon, if the February luncheon has already happened, this is what we want you to do. I'm going to challenge everybody. Your team that you sit with all day at work, that you possibly rode to the luncheon with, sit at a different table.
Oh my gosh. And if you're a supplier, please don't just hang out with the same people from your company. Go sit with other people. I don't need to sit with you because you and I are already friends. We work together. Let's go and sit with other people and learn about other people. If I'm constantly fricking fracking around with the same person constantly, people don't feel like you're approachable because you're always so insular into this tiny little grouping.
Well, and then when you get to that property on Monday morning and you can't get past the leasing professional because you haven't networked properly, that's kind of what happens. I remember going into when I first started working with Finder and they moved me to Memphis. I didn't know a soul. And the first stop was the apartment association. And I went to luncheons and I met people, and being able to network in that setting. Now, when I showed up on a Monday, because I didn't know no better, that you don't do that when you're a supplier. You Monday don't show up on Monday. But when I showed up, it's like, oh, that's Ty from the luncheon. Let her come in. We'll talk to her. So networking definitely is a leg on that stool. And last but not least, advocacy. And you're right. Advocacy is the piece that I think a lot of us miss. And a lot of people are not privy to go on the Hill when we go to advocate and really to get engulfed in what is going on in the industry. And a lot of these things do affect us. And if it doesn't affect you, it affects the people in your family. And when I think about it, I think about the housing choice reform voucher. And I think about my cousin having a voucher here, but not being able to find a place to stay before the voucher expires because nobody takes vouchers anymore. Or not being able to live in certain areas. So now your kids cannot go to that school or you're not privy. It goes way beyond the four walls and a floor.
Yep.
When people are not able to have the same access when it comes to housing. So those reasons alone are those are the reasons.
Yep. And one of the things I always tell people in talking about advocacy specifically is they're all like, well, I don't know how to. Yes, you do. You talk to your friends about things that are bothering. This is the same thing. These people are elected and they want to speak to their constituents, and they are required basically to speak to their constituents. So you have a voice that it's just another person. One of my state legislature, he's a big kahuna in my state. I babysat this man's kids. Okay. So like, these people are regular people and you've grown up around them in some capacity, and just have a conversation. You don't have to know everything about everything. But when I take a team to the Hill, my conversation with the group is who feels passionate about here's this issue, here's this issue, here's this issue. Who feels passionate about what? Who has what stories? And then we'll craft kind of a plan about who's going to talk to what. I don't need you to talk about everything. I don't need you to be an expert about everything. I just need those stories from you and that data and information, if it's, data information that's specifically needed, that will drive home one of those points. I don't need you to know everything. I just need you to know one thing, and we'll be good.
Well, I love that, because that's a great tip with Advocate coming up for teams that are going on the hill, to know what the issues are prior to, and to get them out, and to let those people talk who are passionate about that subject. And,
Yep.
you know, like I said, we were in with, maybe it was Bozeman, and we were sharing a story, and I told him about my cousin and how, you know, I don't work on property anymore, but these are things that are affecting my life. And I'm hearing people talk to me because they know that I work in the multifamily industry. So definitely. So continuing on to personal branding. Why is personal branding important to you, Betsy?
I mentioned this before, but you know, that whole things Cadence says, I had kind of specific things, especially in the beginning when I started being a supplier, that I would post about. And it wasn't intentional in the beginning, right? It just was something that kind of came naturally to me to do. But I would set myself a little bit of a schedule, and I would have specific things that I would post about on different days, and would find things that would make sense to me within those days. And that helped people. They would come to my page looking for specific things. They would come to my Facebook or my LinkedIn to see what I was posting about specific things, and I would connect with people. They would share my stuff because of those things. And it has definitely changed and kind of grown over the years. Like now, in my stories since like 2020, I've been posting memes in my stories every single day because I know it makes people laugh. And, you know, life is hard, and I want people to have something to smile about occasionally. And so, and I post about other things as well, but it helps people to know a little bit more about me. And so when we meet in person eventually, you feel like you know me a little bit. And I, a lot of times, feel like I know you because of the things that we're sharing. Obviously, it's not everything. You can't put every single thing that's about you there. But I try to be very open about the positives and the negatives, struggles that I'm going through, fantastic things I'm going through, so that people, at least for my brand, see that, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. We do have awful days, and there are mental health struggles that happen. But on the other hand, you know, there are wonderful things that are happening, and that is okay for everyone to have those, and help people feel a little bit more okay with voicing those things. So I feel like that helps people to connect with me personally, not just, you know, Betsy, but Betsy that works for BG. Like Betsy understands a little bit about who I am and what I'm doing, if that makes
Well, and it
sense.
makes you relatable. And I think when you're relatable and people feel like Betsy's just like me, then it makes it more where it creates a safe space to have conversations, or it to trust each other. And this is an industry, and especially when you're on the supplier side, people buy from people that they trust. People do
That's true.
business with people that relatable. So I feel the same way when it comes to personal branding. Like, you are your brand. There's no separating it anymore. And I think
Yep.
I found that out when I worked at Finder. I wore orange every single day. It like the Memphis people will tell you, I wore orange because that's when we were in print, and we were the Orange Digest book, and orange was our color. And I wore orange every single day, and I was the Finder girl. And I won Rookie of the Year my first year with them. Like, so personal branding, and even now, if it doesn't align with my brand when it comes to social media, I think people get it confused when, well, that's my personal page, where there is no personal. Your brand, you are the brand.
Yep. Yep.
You want to come on that? That touched you.
Because people do say that all the time, like, oh, well, this is my personal page. You're like, people buy from you because of who you are as a person. Like that's why they're like they want to, and they not just buy from you, they'll hire you. They'll pay attention to what's going on because of who you are as a person. I will absolutely look at someone's social media, and if it's crazy pants, I'm probably not going to hire them. And what are you going to do? Like, because you're a representative of the company. I will say this. So Kelly put in the chat, can't forget the inflatable of the month club. So I don't know if you saw this, but my sister one time, as a joke, because I hate yard inflatables, purchased me the inflatable, not me, purchased my daughter the inflatable of the month club, which was basically her buying and sending me the very worst yard inflatable that she could find every single month for a whole year. And I would every month have to take a picture and post. And since it was my kid's gift, I couldn't like not do it because they were like, yay, here's my inflatable. We got to put it up. And it was on Facebook. I had several property management companies that were like, hey, I'm going to do this at my property. We're going to do a yard inflatable of the month. And people can come and like take pictures of it. Like it became like a huge joke. And Kelly, like people all over were like, what's your yard inflatable this month? And I'm like, oh God, it was bad. But yes, 100%.
But you know what? And that's part of, because when I hear that story and when I see you in person, that's the same Betsy. When I'm serving with you on Next Gen, that's the same Betsy. So your brand cannot be turned off.
Yep.
You are the brand. I'm the same Ty all the time, whether I'm speaking, the AE, podcasting, and I'm always intentional and aware of that. And I think Ashia, you're my friend, Ashia Shepherd. Ashia does a great job at it. She's the joyful leader, and her brand, and I can honestly say this from being her friend. That's her. That the joy is, she exudes it. That's her even when she's not on. So you have to be the brand even when you're not around. So I really love that. James Burwell says that no one can be you but you. You have to own it. Own who you are. So we talked about association involvement. We talked about personal branding. And we already talked about advocacy. Now we want to dig a little bit deeper into who Betsy is. So, Betsy, you just had a birthday. You just got married. And then I observed something as I was researching and kind of looking through your pictures. And guys, when I have these conversations with people on Talking with Ty, I want y'all to know this is usually my first real conversation with the people, because I want to make sure that I'm hearing it for the first time and we're getting it all out there. So when I look through your pictures, I noticed things about your family, and I noticed that your family is very diverse of the makeup of it. And you've mentioned Cadence a few times, and I met her in person, and it's obvious that Cadence is a sister, that, you know, that she looks a little bit different for you. There's some makeup. Yes, that Cadence is a sister. There's some different makeup in her. And we talked a little bit about your family and how the dynamics look. So let's talk about family and what family looks like for Betsy, and what that means. And we'll go down that.
So I have two daughters. I have Cadence. She's 15. She'll be 16 in June. And she came to me through a familial placement when she was like 3.5. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's basically where DSS is removing a child and will put them with a family member versus putting them into a system. At that time, I was married to her uncle, who is my ex-husband. And we had known Cadence since her birth. We were there the day she was born. Her mom had lived with us on and off when she had some issues. So I had been in her life since birth. And the mom had some issues with drug addiction and some other things. And the dad was in prison. And so DSS had their eyeball on the situation for a while and removed her. And at first it was very much like, hey, we're trying to reunite family members here. Like we wanted her to get clean. And she was not at a place at that point, and honestly is still not at that place, to go through that process. And so after a period of time, DSS basically said, hey, listen, we're Seacrest out. Like she's in a safe place. And apparently DSS does this a lot, where they'll just remove themselves. And a lot of time what will happen then is that whoever has custody will just give the child back at that point, which we were not going to do because it was not a safe situation to be in. So DSS, opened a permanent custody case, which I normally tell people she's adopted because that's just a bit of an easier way to go about it. And after about another 6 months or so, she ended up, in our permanent custody and has been there ever since. Then when her father and I separated and divorced eventually, she came with me. So she is biracial, and I have a relationship with the grandmother and the birth father side of the family, which is the Black side of the family. And she goes there fairly often. In the beginning, it was definitely like every month for a weekend and for some holiday things and stuff like that. She goes on some vacations with them, and I found that to be very important because I don't know if you could tell, am a very, very white woman, and so there's lots of things that I just don't know. And it was also a thing. My sister adopted Cadence's biological brother, half sibling. So, and then she has several other siblings that we also have relationships with out in the universe, that are all biracial or Black, depending on the situation. And one of the things that I determined very early on is I do not know a lot of things. So I grew up, I was homeschooled. I had a very small grouping of people around me, and none of them were diverse really in any capacity. And you grow up thinking, oh, I'm not biased, I'm not racist, I'm not any of these things. And you grow up hearing certain rhetoric around you, and you assume that this is normal and okay. And then when you become a parent to a child that is of a diverse grouping, you begin to see things that you did not see previously. You begin to be around people that you probably, and I did have friends that were diverse at that point, quite a few, but it's still not the same as being a parent and like being involved in that. And I will never forget when Cadence was 6, she had a teacher, and sometimes we would occasionally go and we get her hair blown out and get a deep condition and a trim. And when we would do that, I noticed that her behavior records coming back from the school were all like very positive, because she would get like a positive or a negative every day. So when she had her hair straightened, she was getting a completely different reaction from the school than the days that her hair was curly. And I started to notice a pattern of this pretty regularly. And then one day she came home and she was crying, and she was like, I don't want my hair to be curly anymore because my teacher is not nice to me when my hair is curly. And I had never thought about this being a thing until all of this happened. And I was like, and then we had to have some conversations with her and with the teacher, and it was a lot. And then when she was a little older, I think she was like 8 or 9, I found out months later that she had been at school and the teacher had separated the kids into who would have been slaves and who would have been owners for an exercise during history based off of color. And she just separated the kids. And I was like, what just happened? And like, these were things I would never have thought of. It didn't even dawn on me that that would have been an issue until Cadence came into our lives. When my father, when I was younger, would say things about welfare or something like that, or, just rhetoric and bias, I would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then when I got older, I'd be like, oh God, this is no, this is not happening. And my sister as well, we both kind of went down this pathway as we've gotten older. And it's just been every day there's something new to learn. Every day there's something new to find out and to listen to other people. I remember having a conversation, like I didn't know that mortgages had been so racialized, especially back to redlining and things. I had no clue. And when I started looking into it, or highways and how they destroyed communities, none of these things were things that I knew before or would even have looked into. And then now having a child that is a child of color blows my mind.
But you know what? At first, thank you for sharing this with me and with the listeners. This is why I do this, because I said story connects us. So I mentioned it to you when we talked about this, and you didn't know this, that Titus is adopted. We have the same story when it comes to adopting a child that is a family member. Today actually is our 5-year anniversary. This is the day that we brought him home with us. He was 7 months old, changed my entire life. Because I went from having no kids and not even being prepared for this situation. So, but that's a story for another day. But showing that here you are as a Caucasian woman as possible. Everything about Betsy is a white girl, the whitest of the white girl. Here I am, a Black woman, and everything about me, natural hair, every stereotype that I'm loud, everything. I'm the blackest of the Black girl. But our story is the same when it comes to bringing in a child that was a family member that came from a bad situation. Our love for people, our love for the industry is the same, and it crossed over into accepting an assignment from God that a lot of people wouldn't do when God says, bring in another child that you didn't give birth to. So that just us, and for that reason alone, our relationship will continue to grow and continue to be nurtured because we're connected on that level. But I love the way that you talked about, and I want you to know this: when we all live in a bubble and we don't know things, we don't know about Black hair, we don't know about white hair, we don't know about kids that's been adopted, we don't know about DHS, we don't know about things until it affects us, and we're all blind to things until it affects us. We all go by our unconscious bias and our stereotypes, and when I'm out there speaking on these things, I always tell people that unconscious bias is nothing to be ashamed of, because guess what? We all have them. There's things that I'm sure I think about white people that is furthest from the truth, but it's just what I heard growing up, what I saw on a movie, and what I think until I'm in a safe space that's created to be able to have the conversation and I can be corrected with love and be able to accept it. So talking about cadence and some of the things that you learned that were different that you didn't know, one of the things that stand out to me the most is hair. And she talked about her curly hair. So what, because this is something that we as Black women struggle with.
Yes.
So what was eye-opening to you when it came to her hair?
When she first came to me, her hair was not great. Her mother, and this is a well-earned stereotype. Her mother was white, and she did not know how to take care of her hair. And she would just pull it straight back. Her edges were like wrecked. And I was like, this is not okay. Like her hair is dry and like it shouldn't be like this. I've seen other people that have beautiful hair that is moisturized and the curls are more defined and all of those things. That something is not right here. This is just being pulled straight back. And and so I was like, okay, so I found a resource online called Chocolate Hair Vanilla Care, and it was a woman who was an adoptive mother who had basically had to teach herself how to do all of the things. And then I began the journey of, I think all mothers go through, is what product is going to work on my child's hair? And so, the product drawer or the product shelf that you have with all of the 85,000. So,
I got it in my bathroom.
we all do that have children with them. And so I spent a lot of time, and people at the time, I had a lot of people of every race and color would say to me, oh, you should just relax your hair. And I was like, I'm not going to do anything permanent to this child's hair until she is an adult. Like, she can do permanent things to her hair when she is older, but I'm not going to make a decision because it will be easier for me. I'm going to have to do the work because that is what is for me. I feel like I have to do for her. I'm not going to say anything about anybody else choosing to do whatever they want to do with their hair. But for my situation, I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I spent a lot of time and effort and years getting her hair healthy and working through that journey and finding curly hair specialists that knew how to cut curly hair that would help me learn how to do it, and finding good salons and good braiders, which is its own thing, because I'm not a good braider by any stretch. But if I'm not a good braider, then I need to find a good braider that can do this appropriately and show me what works. And one lady, I was like, what do you think? When she goes, girl, this was one of the first times I ever did that. She's like, that is not an appropriate hairstyle for a young Black woman. And I was like, good to know. Tell me what is an appropriate hairstyle and we will do this. Like, and just being open. And I, going to the salon became such like this is a day you're going to the salon. I know all the ladies who work there. They know me. They know Cadence. They know my youngest, who is just turning 6 tomorrow. They know all of us, because I've been going there since Cadence was like a 5-year-old or 6-year-old, and they know us at this point. And I didn't know that was such a thing. Like, me going to a salon, whole different thing than when Cadence goes to a salon.
Out of us bonding and spending time at the salon, like, that's a whole thing for a Black woman when we go to, because it takes a long time. And when you're at the salon, so it's a real thing for us to go to the salon. But the thing that I love about you, Betsy, is that even though that wasn't your thing, and you know what, I'm glad God didn't bless me with a daughter, because I don't know how to comb girls' hair either. I would be lost too. So it ain't even no black or white thing. It's just if that's your skill or not. But
yes, it's true.
Wasn't your thing. And you sent her somewhere to where she can get it done properly so that she can feel her best self and look her best self. And I think that's what's most important, because, and I shared to you in my son's class, he has a friend and she has a mom that's white, and she's not even biracial. She's just an African-American child, and mom cuts her hair and it's packed into a little fro. And I'm just like, why are you doing that? And I've offered in so many ways that I know how nicely, like, hey, if you ever need help with her hair, just let me know. And she's like, well, I just cut it. I'm like, well, Black girls like their hair too. Like, don't just cut her hair because you don't know what to do with it. So I love the fact that you said, you know what, I don't know what to do with it, but I'm going to send you to somebody that does know what to do with it. And I don't know, guys, if you've never seen Cadence before, look at Betsy's social media, because Cadence is a knockout. Like, honey, Cadence is super, super beautiful. And you can tell that Cadence is being loved properly, that Cadence is being loved by somebody that has realized that they're raising a Black woman. Because everything about Cadence looks like a Black woman. It doesn't look like Betsy's trying to change Cadence into anything that she's not. And I think coming from another Black woman, that means something.
Oh, I got a little goosebumps there. Thank you.
Well, you know what? It really does, because it's making me get emotional, because when you see African-American children with a white family and they're not paying homage to the fact that they're Black, you can't erase it, because the world is seasoned.
Yes. We had conversations.
And if you don't prepare her for it.
When she was younger, she wanted to pass. Like, and when she was in middle school, I think she thought in her head that she could. And I always know, I'm like, this is not a thing for you. And she wanted to wear her straight more, and she wore clothes that were more like mine and all that kind of stuff. And I never told her that she had to. I just was like, I'm going to buy you the clothes that you feel comfortable in, at whatever point. And then when she got into late middle school and high school, she got a more diverse group of friends. And I saw then the change come where she felt more comfortable. I'm going to cry. Where she felt more comfortable being who she is. And that has meant so much to me, to be able to watch her with a group of like wonderful, diverse friends that allow her to celebrate who she is. And I don't want that to ever change. Like, she just toured her first college or her first real college, and it was an HBCU. She's probably going to go there. Like, we've researched and had lots of conversations about that. Because the fact is, you are correct. When the world sees her, they see a Black woman. They do. And so like she has to feel comfortable with that because that's not going to change. And so she needs to know what that looks like and how to love herself and embody who she is, because that's what the world is going to see. And I don't want them to see anything else because she's beautiful and she's wonderful as she is. And I don't know. Sorry, little
But you
teary.
know what? That's right on, because I love it in teaching her how to navigate that space early on. But what you're doing is creating a safe space and allowing her to learn how to navigate that space. You said you never said you have to identify with anything. Just
Yeah.
be who you are and come
Mhm.
into that. And when she was exposed and around other diverse groups of people, she probably realized it's really dope being a Black girl. So like, boom, boom, like it really is. There's some times where with privilege, maybe I would want to be in, but it's kind of dope being a Black girl, especially in this day and time. Michelle Obama made it really popular for us. So I'm a roll with it. Like, definitely. But no, in all seriousness though, Betsy, you are amazing. And that's why you were invited. I only reach out to the best of the best. If you get an inbox from me asking you to be a guest on Talking with Ty, like, erase whatever you got going on with your schedule. Tell your boss you can't make it to the meeting. Like, show up, because there's a reason that you were invited. I'm very strategic and intentional about this podcast. I prayed over it. I am a faith-based leader also. And I always want to make sure the voices that I am magnifying are the ones that God told me to give this platform to. And
Appreciate that.
just to hear your story and to hear the things about you and to connect with you, it makes me want to connect deeper with you and work with you. And you're a leader in our industry, and just to get on Next Gen that I'm on this year and to really just serve with you, it makes it so much more like, whatever Betsy want me to do, whatever I can do to make our good leaders. When you're a good person, people want to follow you, and you're just a good person throughout. And it's not just about working; it's really just about serving people. And I love that about you. So we are at 57 minutes. We're almost to the top of the hour. It goes that fast when it happens like this. So before we get off of here today, for everybody that's out there listening, for everybody that's going to listen to the replay, what is it that Betsy Cunningham wants to say to them?
I would say, and I think this works in work and also in just personal life, being willing to have like open and honest conversations with all types of people is the thing that will make your life better. It enhances everything about it. It makes your work better. I don't think I would be where I am in this industry today if I was, or in just life in general, if I would shut myself off to conversations with people that don't look like me, that don't sound like me, that are in different areas, and be open to what they are saying. Like if you go into a situation and you're like, I am right, and I know I'm right, and you're not willing to listen to anything that anybody else has to say, how do you grow? Like, how do you grow as a person unless you're willing to have conversations with other people and be able to go back and forth with it? I think that that's so important. Genuine interest in others will get you so far in life. Not fake, because people can spot that a mile away, but like genuine interest in who other people are is the key to everything, in my opinion.
I love it. The days of being fake is over.
Well,
Transforming people. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And that's the time that we live in right now. Still been reading Radical Candor by Kim Scott, and that's one of the things that she talks about in there. And now we're getting to a point where everybody can go anywhere and make money. COVID taught us all that we can stay at home and make six-figure salaries.
mm-hmm.
People are places because of how they're treated. People stay places because of how they treated, and they work harder because of how you treat them. And I think that's one of the things, your personality, is just as huge as your smile is. Your energy, what you do comes from your heart and it touches other people in the heart. So continue to be the Betsy that you are. Walk in that. I look forward to see what happens to you in the future and just to work with you and to grow with you and just to serve alongside you.
We're gonna have an amazing
like
time
Betsy
on next one.
Oh, we're going to have a great time every single time we link up. Like it's going, when you put me and you in the room together, I noticed that last time when I did the leadership panel for you guys, I was like, oh, Betsy is my kind of girl. Like, we're gonna have an amazing time together. Yeah, I mean, like, I like to have fun. So, Betsy, thank you so much for showing up for me today. Forward to working with you for the rest of 2024 and beyond, and to just building a real relationship that's based on a great foundation.
Thank you. And I look forward to it too. I appreciate you having me. This is amazing. And I can't wait to see you in a few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you for everybody that tuned in today, and we will see you next time. Thank you.